Shmuel, you okay there behind the video? You okay?
You gonna take both of these? Or you just gonna take one of these?
No iPhone is doing it. Anyone need Haggadah? It's useful to have. You have?
No, right.
This is what he lent me.
Fine.
You have? Mordechai book. Okay. Okay, so there's two shirim. We're going to try and we're not going to go through every verse and pasuk. We're going to try and go through some of the ideas, Yesodas, principles to do with the Haggadah, what we're trying to do, the introduction, and some of the themes that we see are going to come through the Haggadah. And then we'll try and go through some of the details. So the first a few introductory points. So firstly, there's a lot of interesting bits in the Haggadah, like this man, he got his hair became white, like he was 70, lots of little nice details, and it's important. However, all the Baalei Mussar, the teachers of what you're supposed to get out of these things, point out that the main thing, don't get distracted, the main thing of the Haggadah is the idea of an emunah, a building up our emunah, our belief, our faith in God, and what happened, Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Exodus, and how it's so relevant for us, and different aspects of our relationship with God. That's really what it is. We'll talk about gratitude, emunah. So everything you're doing in the story, and all the nice things, that should always be the focus. Okay? Number one. Second, now this might vary depending on who's at your Seder or not. As we know, the mitzvah, well, let's go back. Mordechai and Shmuel will know this. How many mitzvah are there on Seder night? Hi, Danny. Remember? How many mitzvah? D'oraisa and d'Rabbanan. Huh? 64. It's okay. But really, just d'oraisa and d'Rabbanan, how many mitzvahs? Like real mitzvahs. Remember Shmuel? Mordechai, go on. Remember?
I'm not answering nothing.
You remember?
5.
5. So 2 are from the Torah, and 3, we did this a few days ago. 2 are from the Torah, 3 are from the rabbis. Well, what's from the Torah? What's from the rabbis? It's not 3 from the rabbis. No, Danny said 64, so you get 3. Anyone?
Matzah, Mara.
Well, so Matzah's from the Torah. Aaron cheated, he went to the d'oraisa. Mara was the Rabbanan. 4 cups of wine, very good, Roy. Good one for Roy. 4 cups of wine. And Hallel, people forget, is the Rabbanan. And the other one, which is what we're here today for, is from the Torah.
Haggadah.
Yeah, Tzipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, telling the story of the leaving of Egypt. And as we know, it says in the Torah, Higadta lebincha, say to your son. So we learn that the Ikka mitzvah, the main mitzvah, is to tell your son. Can be Pasha's daughter as well, but your children. So depending on how old your children are and where you are for Seder, but where there are children around, even grandchildren applies. Aaron's kid's a bit young. Even grandchildren applies. His son Aaron, is to focus on the kids. So even though it's always good to have guests, and we even say halach manya, and we talk about everyone should come in. Nonetheless, I've heard many big rabbonim, even if they have guests, they focus on the kids, and that is the focus. The focus is on bringing out, the main thing is not only just teaching the kids, but bringing out the curiosity and the questions of the children, so that you can then tell them the story and they can build on that. Just on a practical sense, again, everyone has their way, different ways. So to get, especially younger kids involved, it's good to have some kind of prizes. So one year we tried giving them like candies or gum, didn't work because they're busy eating it during the Seder. And we realized, what do they do? You know what the minhag was? Custom was to give nuts. So yeah, what's a 21st century kid going to do with nuts, right? So what we do is we give them you get nuts, and then after they can exchange it for sweets or candies or probably money after Yom Tov or whatever, candies normally. If they ask a question, they get 2. If they answer, they get 1. Asking is better than answering. Okay. Fine. Another important point is, remember, on Pesach, on Seder night, a lot of the things we do are to inculcate nobility, inculcate the idea of Malchus. We are like special people, that's why we lean, even though they don't feel that so special, but used to be leaning, and the beautiful table, and all the, matzah's freedom, and all these things. So we'll probably know on Seder night there's also a big Yetzer Hara's around. You got wine, you got kids, you got spillages. I was looking at my old Haggadah there, we've got the Haggadah marks. Right? It's a very big test of midot, of being calm. So Rebecca, my Rav, always says that the nobility, the most important thing in the nobility is being calm. And, which can be hard with kids around that are overtired or whatever, but keeping, doing it in that kind of way. Because you start getting frustrated and angry, that's not a noble way of acting. Okay, so just one thing an idea for myself and Rabbi Yaakov was just, it helps to structure the Haggadah. We know there is the structure of Kaddish, the whole thing, but I think in the actual Haggadah, if you read it, it can be a bit like random, or why is that thing after that thing? And I'm not answering all those questions, but I wrote like 8 parts to the Haggadah. I'll just say them out quickly, and then we'll get into Hashkafa that I did. Number 1 is Kiddush and Halach Manya. That's really introduction. Number 2 is Manish Dana, is the question, what is going on? Like, could be part of introduction as well, what's going on? Number 3 is, we sort of start, but we don't fully start. It's Avdim Ayinu. And then we talk about a lot of things about, when he's supposed to say the mitzvahs, and the night, and the day, and that's one way of putting that together. Just that's the details of the mitzvah, almost the halachic details. There's nice stories within that. So that's number 3, is you start the mitzvah, but just the details of when you do the mitzvah, how you do the mitzvah. Number 4, that's the real tzipur. That's when you mitchil of the Avodah Zarah all the way, really to Hallel. But I broke it up as we get to the 10 plagues. Up to the 10 plagues is the whole story of the slavery and the leaving. Then you have the 10 plagues, also a part of the leaving, but you have the 10 plagues and Dayenu and all these things, and Hallel. All those things, it's the 10 plagues chronologically, but it's also a big, more emphasis, I think, on focusing on thanking God, appreciating God. Dayenu, which we'll talk about, is many, many details of what God did, and Hallel. And then the Suda, and the mitzvahs and the Suda, and then Hallel at the end, which is even the highest level of praise. One other thing Rabbi Yosef says is, at the beginning you start to say there's a lot going on, right? You do Kiddush, you do the washing, you do the karpas, all these things. And then it goes a bit like, the long haul of the actual reading. So he says that for the younger kids who aren't going to last longer, that's the beginning, all the action and Manish Dana and all that. And then they're dropping off, then, hopefully the older kids that can concentrate a bit more, that goes to that. It's another, sort of, each one, depending on their kid, but like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid isn't going to read the whole Haggadah, But, at least the beginning, just get him something, and then the older ones hopefully can. I saw reading about how Gedolim did their Seders, that none of them generally did a very, very long Haggadah, long Seder, because people can't concentrate and be with people. It's hard. Most of the talking about the insights into the Haggadah, things like that, should be at the meal. But as you go along, little things, little breaks for the kids, who has a question or something like that, as you go along, is good. But, not just for everyone's sake, not very, very overlong. Okay. So Chaim Soloveitchik used to ask every year the same question. And that is, what's the mitzvah? Tzipi Yisrael Mitzrayim. There's a mitzvah every day connected to this. What's that mitzvah? Danny, it's a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah every day. Zechirus Yisrael Mitzrayim, to remember leaving of Egypt. If you don't know this, you should know this, because you should have kavanah, you should have intent to do mitzvahs, and you have the intent to do this mitzvah. When do you do this mitzvah? You say the Shema. And the 3rd paragraph, so I shall say to you, you should have in mind in the morning and the evening to do that mitzvah. You do a mitzvah, you should have in mind. Anyway, though, if Chaim asks, so what's the chiddush, what's different about the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? What's different about it? What's more? Right? I like interaction. Any ideas?
It's different.
So the way you fulfill the mitzvah daily, as opposed to the way you fulfill the mitzvah
Well, in the
once a year.
first paragraph, the Shema will say, "B'shinatim lefanecha." You
Yeah.
already said.
Firstly, why do we eat matzah on Pesach? If I asked you before this, why do you eat matzah on Pesach? Mordechai?
Why? Because it was, we left Egypt in haste.
Right.
And we didn't have time
Right.
to bread the rice.
Right.
So that became a tradition, which became
Mitzvah, yeah.
mitzvah.
So, they explain that means that when the Jews were slaves, they used to give them matzah to eat because matzah fills you up and it's an easy, cheap thing to do. But what's going on? I thought we had matzah because it was in the haste and it symbolizes freedom. Yeah. I thought matzah symbolizes freedom. But here it symbolizes poverty. Yeah? You hear the question? What's matzah? Yeah, so that's the big question here. So we'll talk about that a bit, and then we'll get to the other things a bit more minor. There's an idea I heard, I think, from Rabbi. Why does matzah represent freedom? Because we're in a hurry. Okay, why does matzah represent freedom? What is freedom? So freedom in a Western sense is you're not in prison, you can do what you want. Plenty of people that are free do what they want and not free. Meaning free is in free in yourself, not addicted to something, not addicted to work, money, food, drugs, alcohol, lots and lots of things, right? True Jewish Torah sense of freedom is being internally free. And we say that real freedom is connected to my soul. It's connected to my essence, the body and the soul. And a lot of lack of freedom is when I'm meshubed, I'm attached to my body. I need to eat, I need to do this, and we should look after our body. But freedom is going back to my pure essence, which is really my soul. Okay? What's matzah versus chametz? What's the difference between matzah and chametz? Nothing really, just a bit of time. And chametz gets bigger, it fills up. So in this way, the Balei Machshava, the commentaries say, matzah represents person, soul at its essence, at its base, without any additions. Whereas chametz is yeast, it's risen, it's extra stuff. And that's also why halacha, you're not allowed on Seder night, and most will never, but some Sfardim you can, but you can never have on Seder night, you can't be yotzi the mitzvah with matzah ashira, rich matzah, which has juice or honey or things like that. Right? Why? On this idea, because it's additions, right? It's adding something. It's not the pure self, right? The freedom of matzah is just the pure essence. So on Seder night, what we're really doing is getting back to our beginning. Seder night, Pesach, is the birth of the nation. So in a sense, what we're trying to do, as we know, holidays is not just remembering something, it's reliving it, is getting back to our pure essence of our pure souls. Right? That's the freedom of matzah. Now that really isn't a contradiction to the poverty of matzah. We asked, the Jews, it says here, halach manya, that's what the poor man's bread. What do you mean? I thought it was bread of freedom. The answer is both. The poor man's bread, not that you have to be poor, but the poor man's bread, when a person doesn't have anything else, he only has himself and he has his soul. And the Jews in Egypt had so nothing that they got to base zero, like without anything, and then they could have, Hashem could fill them up with the Yetzias Mitzrayim and so on. Right? Just to flesh out this idea, Rabbi said in Germany when the Nazis were already there, before they knew it'd be a Holocaust, and people realized it was bad, and people left. The people that found it hardest to leave were the wealthiest people. Why? Because they had their house, they had their things. That held them back. They became slaves to their things. A person who looks at his car or his house as part of him, how much, or his money, what are you worth, right? What are you worth? £500,000. Then it's not just him. He's become meshubed, he's become attached. If someone's car gets damaged and he feels like he lost a limb, he's attached to it. You can use it, it's a good thing, there's nothing wrong with it, but not to be attached to it. And nowadays, very obviously with technology and iPhones, people, they can't. I read in England, my dad sent me a thing in England, there was a woman who made her iPhone waterproof so she could take it to the shower. And she actually got a disease from her back being bent. We laugh, but look around. It's not that. Thank God for Shabbos. We tried to make a Shabbos app, right? So Pesach is freedom. Again, you know they have to be poor, but the idea of poverty is it enables you to, like Yom Kippur is a bit, you don't have anything, it enables you to get back to your essence. I had a very big question on this, though. Because, firstly, a point that fits with this, almost all the time they bought bread, or menachos and things in the Beis HaMikdash, it was matzah, it had to be unleavened, it had to be matzah, leavened, it had to be matzah. And I think that's the same idea, because in the Beis HaMikdash, it's normally that same idea of like, just pure salt. However, one time you bought chametz. When was the one time? Shavuos, right? Lechem upon it, the shei lechem. You bought the two breads, and they were chametz. So it's very strange. I'm saying this whole idea. Bread represents additions. Bread represents foreign additions to you that you're attached to, and Pesach is matzah. Now Pesach, as we know, starts to Omer, and it leads to Shavuot. It's a whole growth process from Pesach to Shavuot. So how can it be you go from Pesach to Shavuot, and by Shavuot, then you have a chametz? That's the worst thing. And Stam has always bothered me. We'll talk about how bad chametz is, Yetzer Hara, this, that, and the other. We have it all year round. It can't be that bad, right? So the answer is, it's not bad. It's not bad to have additional things to use as kalim, as vessels, utensils, to get close to God. It's not, as we know, Jews don't believe in you have to be poor, you have to have not eat, and all these things. When it says in Pirkei Avot, Pas b'melech tochal, it says eat bread and salt and live a simple, sleep on the floor and all that. Most commonly said, it doesn't mean you have to do that, but you have to be able to do that. Right? So the idea of Pesach is, that's who I am. By Shavuos, the hope is you get to the point where you can, chametz represents, you can use all those additional things and you can to elevate. You can use it for the good. You're not meshubed to it, you're not attached to it anymore. Understand? Again, just why are we saying poor man's bread and yet I said matzah's poor man's bread and matzah's freedom, it's the two together. If only if you're truly a level of not of poor in a certain way, you can be free. But the other things that are very strange about halach ma'anya is like, firstly, why are we inviting people in now? The door's closed, you started the meal. Right? We're talking about, now we're here, next year we'll be in the land of Israel, now we're slaves, next year we'll be free men. Like, what's going on? So, yeah. There's a couple of answers I saw. Matashah Solomon, he says that really it's like, it's not really, most people say it's not really inviting anyone in, like, no one's going to come now. But Matashah says the idea of being a nobleman, now we're chashuv, we're not slaves, we're chashuv, we're able to invite people in. Right? We're chashuv people. With Bernstein, Emmanuel Bernstein says the opposite thing. In the time of the Beis HaMikdash, you had to have a Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach, you had to have a group. You had to appoint people in the group before Pesach, and that was it. You couldn't invite anyone else. Now we don't have to do that. You can invite someone now because you don't have the Korban Pesach. So he says that this is talking about next year will be in Israel. This is talking about we don't have a temple, and even though we're free to a degree from Mitzrayim, we don't have a temple, and we're saying in a sad way, whoever can come, because we don't have the halachas of the Korban Pesach, where we're not allowed to invite someone now. You're not allowed to invite a Korban Pesach on Pesach, you have to do it before, you have to arrange it before. So we're sad. And that's what we're saying, this year in Israel, next year, this year's slaves. So even though we're free from Mitzrayim, we haven't got the full Geula yet, and we're hoping for that as well.
So when we say next year in Israel, we are hoping and praying that we will have the temple.
Right, so that's the other question. We're in Israel, what's the problem? We're in Israel, right? You know, when they first came back to Yerushalayim, some people wanted to take out the prayers for Yerushalayim in like Tisha B'Av and everything. And the Gedolim said, what are you talking about? This isn't how Yerushalayim is supposed to be. This isn't how Israel's supposed to
Still
be.
the diaspora until the temple.
Right, exactly.
Even though we're leader.
Yeah. Well, look at the state of Israel. This is not how it's supposed to be. Yeah. Okay, Manish Tana. You want to sing, Mordechai? No. Okay. Okay, Manish Tana. Sorry, yeah. Shmuel, you want to sing? Who's the youngest? Who's the youngest? Who's the youngest? The oldest. Who's the youngest? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we know the questions. So firstly, just okay, like what's going on? What's the point? And like why do we? This night we eat matzah, another night we eat chametz, and we have vegetables, and we really have maror and leaning and all that. And you ever wondered like what's the answer to these questions? Do we answer these questions? You ever wondered that? Avadim hayinu l'chol mitzrayim. Danny, I'll pick on other people now, Mordechai. How do we answer the question? Why do we do all these funny things? Because we were slaves in Egypt. No? You don't know this, you don't know the whole point of the... David?
To bring out this?
Yeah, but how to answer the questions? How to answer the question? Maybe it is.
Well,
So,
it's pretty self-explanatory.
Go on.
Chametz and matzah and tomorrow. So really, we are, and you already said about the leaning. We are obviously as Malchuyot, more of sovereignty on this night.
right, but how we answering it was by saying Avadim hayinu. We were slaves. How's the answer?
Well, when
Who are
we
you
were
getting to?
slaves, we obviously couldn't distinguish between the various things that are in Manish Tana. And that's why the night is different.
Oh, okay. Oh, you say about that. Okay. So the way I understood, the simple pshat is the theme in the questions is we're doing contradictory things on this night. And the simple pshat is we're doing weird things. But they ask, there's other things you could have asked, like the 4 cups of wine. Some things we do, matzah represents freedom, right? And so does leaning. On the other hand, maror represents slavery, bitterness, right? So one pshat, I forget who says this, is we're asking, this night is a weird night. Some things we're talking about being, freedom and we're noble. Now that we're talking about slavery, what's going on? It's a weird night. It's different from everything else. One or the other maybe, but why both? Right? Contradictory night. Yeah, the answer is, I tell you, we do the maror because Avadim hayinu l'chol mitzrayim. We do the maror because we were slaves. And Hashem took us out. This is like the short version answer, right? And Hashem took us out. That's why we have the other part. We have the 2 parts together. You hear what I'm saying? The question is, why are we doing sad things and happy things? And the answer is because we were slaves. That's the sad thing. And because we came out, that's the happy thing. Why do we need both? Well, we said one reason, because you appreciate the good when you talk about the bad first. Right? One aspect of it. Okay? Yeah. Right, yeah, exactly. Avdim is very, it could be, we're looking at it more now, that in itself, in that paragraph, answers the question. Then, like I said, the Haggadah gets to a few details of things and the sons, and then it gets into the real tipple of the Mitzvah of the Avodah Zarah.
So actually, really, after we've said Avadim hayinu, we might as well say that's it. We've explained it. Let's eat.
Let's go. Let's see. My sister does comments. She answered the comment based on me when we were young, actually. The 4 questions it's called. The boy is there. He goes, "When are we going to eat?" And the next picture is, "We're not eating yet." And the third one is, "We ever going to eat?" That's what I was like. So, yeah. Okay. The kids should eat before, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's another nice idea here. We say Manish Tana Halayla Hazeh. Now, who's good at Hebrew grammar here? Laila is a feminine word, right? I'm only good at grammar. What should it be? Laila's feminine. So what should it be? Laila ha-zot. Yeah? Laila, the zeh is masculine and zot is feminine. Laila, so it's still an innocuous question, but why does it say Laila hazeh? The Vilna Gaon is a whole deep answer here, which I want to share with you a bit. The Laila, I hope we're not too feminist over it. The Laila, the night, is normally a time of quiet lack of action. The day is a time of action. In the Torah view, the man is like that. The man is out, he's the active one. And the woman is a more passive, or feminine is more passive. Right? I'm going to ask you another question. Not questions. Tell me all the mitzvahs in the Torah that you can only fulfill in the night. Danny, you hear that? All the mitzvahs you can only fulfill in the night. Any ideas? Right, so Kriyat Shema, yeah, but there's really two parts to it. Tigras not mitzvah, do I? Yeah. People say that Sfira HaOmer, yeah, they're doing about Sfira HaOmer, but even that you can fill in the day. It's the first time to do it in the night. Give you a clue, Pesach. It's two mitzvahs, D'Oraisa. Matzah you can only do in the night. And Tzipri says it's right, you can only do in the night. And Halal, the only time you ever do Halal in the night is Pesach in Shul and again. Right? So the Manish Tanah Halal Hazeh, the Vilna Gaon says, why is this night different? This night is a Zeh. A Zeh is masculine. This night is full of mitzvahs. Nights are quiet, they're feminine. They're quiet, they're passive. This night is full of mitzvahs. Yeah? Says, the answer is because we got taken out in the night. Like we say, it happened in the night, it happened at midnight. And this is, why did it happen like this? This is one aspect of a thing we'll talk about more maybe next time, is that the whole idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim is turning everything on its head. Like turning nature upside down, breaking all the laws of nature. And that was extremely significant because that's the beginning of the nation. The Bali Machshava say, like Rabbi Tatz, a seed, right? If you have a seed and a tree, it becomes a tree. When it's a tree, if you poke it, cut it, you don't do much. The seed, if you cut it, you destroy the whole thing, you do a lot of damage. At the beginning, the way something develops, that has a massive effect on the rest. Right? So the beginning of the creation of the Jewish people was be a defining aspect of it. And the key aspect of it is that it was what we say, Ma'al Derech HaTeva, above the laws of nature, because that was the foundation that the whole Jewish existence would be above the laws of nature. Right? So I think one aspect of that is it had to be in the night. Turning everything upside down. Right? Manish Tanah, why is this night different? Why is this night masculine, it's full of mitzvahs? What's the answer? Because they did it in the night, and with all the miracles, it was turning everything upside down. Okay? Fine. Why do we ask? We're okay to go a bit further? I said 9:30, we started late. You okay? Why do we ask about the matzah before the moral? What came first? The moral, the slavery. The freedom and the matzah came second. And really the same question later, when Rabbi Gamliel, Omer, three things you should say. What does he say? What's the order? Pesach, matzah, moral. Pesach, matzah, moral. So again, the moral is last. It should be first. Yeah? Chronologically. So the Ma'aseh Hashem of Ashkenazi says, you need to talk about the bad to get to the good, but it's too depressing to start with the bad. That's one shot. But another slightly deeper idea is, I think Rabbi Chasser once said this here on the Shabbos, is that you appreciate the good, you appreciate the bad once you've seen the good. When something bad's happening, great. After the fact, a lot of difficulties we have in life or challenges we have in life, after everything is good, then we can see, oh, that's why that happened. And then you can even appreciate the bad. That's what it says, when something bad happens in this world, we say, both die in emes, right? something good happens, we say Tov HaMeitiv. It says in the next world, we'll say Tov HaMeitiv on the bad things, because then we'll see why they were good. So too, we're talking about the slavery, is when we start with the matzah and we see the freedom, so we see that the slavery enabled the freedom. And slavery, it helps us appreciate the freedom. Right? And one of the ways that slavery helped us enable the freedom, is a little bit like what I was saying before, is the freedom, again, it's not just we got free. The freedom is we became the Am Hashem, the people of Hashem, and we became a nation completely above the laws of nature. Why? Because Hashem did everything. Right? The verse says, we say, Aleinu l'shabech, right? Shelo asanu k'gei ourselves. He didn't make us like the goyim. What does that mean? That the nation was made in a different way from other nations. How's a nation made? I'm reading about the American Revolution, right? You have a war, you fight the English. You have a war, and you take over in your place. We became a nation, not in our country, not in Israel and Egypt. We were slaves. We didn't do anything. We became a nation, right? And that was the foundation that our whole existence is from God, is above the laws of nature. That could only happen if we'd been slaves, because it could only happen if we didn't have anything, have any power, any level, anything. Because if we did, then we could say, oh, it's a bit from us. But we can't, because we had nothing. Right? Yeah, so that's why, again, deeper, why we say the matzah and the maru, the matzah first, because then we appreciate the maru. We appreciate, they call it the kor habazal. It was like a furnace that it cleaned us up and it enabled us to then go out to this one. Okay, so that's the manish to know. Avadim mayinu. We'll stop there. People are tired. Great. So we're not going to finish Haggadah, by the way, but we'll carry on Sunday.